Okay, so this assignment is called curve, and you'll see it's because it only uses curve line. The way that we start the curve project that's different than the others is that we always start with an anchor piece. So an anchor piece is the main line that goes through your composition that dictates all the other pieces. So if you look in this example, this has a really strong anchor. It touches all four sides. So it goes here and splits off, and then goes here and splits off. This one is really dynamic because not only does it touch four sides, it has areas of thick and thin. This one has a totally different personality and has a much different anchor piece. So this one is skinny, and it starts over here and then gets really tiny right here and then spreads out. So although it only touches two sides, it's still a very successful anchor. This one as well, it has lots of different shapes and curves that go through it, and again touches two sides. So you can touch any number of sides that you want. The next rule is that all of your follow-up pieces need to follow the curve. So you'll see here that this first main piece right here follows, and what that does is it doesn't follow exactly because you want to create interesting negative space. So what this second piece did was create this interesting large negative space, which is really successful. In this side, it follows a little bit closer, but changes direction just enough to allow for new curves to come into the picture. So on this one, the negative space is pretty even, but it changes direction a lot, which makes it very exciting. If I had a suggestion for this one, I would say that some of these can be even closer together or further apart to create more variety in negative space. And then this one, same thing, good use of negative space, nice follow-up curves. They did really well in getting this nice subtle curve in here, creating a little bit of tension. So you have tension created here with how close they are, and then you have a little bit of place for your eye to rest by having these larger areas of white. So all these are really successful designs. The other rule is that you can't have any filler pieces, and those are called mustaches, parentheses, lightning bolts, anything like that. So this piece here has a really strong anchor piece, and that it starts and goes all the way and splits and touches all the sides. But what went wrong in this design is that the follow-up pieces were not as strong as the anchor. So if you'll see here, you have this short little worm parenthesis shape that really could have just connected right here and become a nice strong line, but it didn't happen. Same thing here and here. So a lot of these pieces that could have been linear are now just these little shapes. And so we call those filler pieces. So really, if you have a short piece like that, you need to think about how you can extend it to break the edge of the page. So the best way to get started for these examples is to do thumbnails. So a thumbnail is really only successful if you do it as a square. Since our designs are always squares, I always use graph paper. But if you design in a rectangle, it might be pretty, but if it doesn't work as a square, it's not going to work. So what I always do is just make a little set of squares, and then I sketch some anchor pieces out. Try not to overthink it because you can get really caught up in it being perfect, but what I like to do is just start with one line and then go and go in and go, that didn't really work too much. I've not enough interest down here. Let me try that again. So then I might start by going from one corner to another corner and see how that goes. And then I'm varying the thickness and thinness. And then or maybe you can even use a marker and start filling in other pieces. But then, talk to a couple people at your table, see which one is the most interesting, and then go with that one and start cutting out your anchor to make your follow-up pieces.